Hello and welcome to the Icons of Sin. Me and Chris are back. How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Durs, how are you doing?
Excellent. I'm good. I didn't realise we're recording this about 8 a.m., which is my usual, recording time. And you didn't mention to me you normally get up at like 11 a.m. So every fortnight you're getting up super early for this show.
It's once a fortnight and it's worth it, so it's not too bad.
It's good fun. Yeah, well, you've got to get going today. You got to head up to Liverpool after this as well. So you are being awesome for doing this show. What have you been playing lately, Chris? I kind of know the answer to this, but over at Chon Games, I can see what you've been playing. But for this audience who should subscribe to Chon Games on YouTube, what have you been playing lately?
Well, one of our lovely viewers actually bought us the new game Mortal Shell.
How awesome is that? So one of your subscribers bought you Mortal Shell, which looks awesome, by the way.
It's very it's like a Souls-like game.
Yeah,
but a hell of a lot less forgiving.
I was going to say I saw your gameplay. It looked really hard. Like even by Souls standards, it looked way harder.
I'm
enemies didn't seem to.
Souls, so...
Yeah, well, you're like a Dark Souls expert, right?
Pretty much.
Or yeah, well, I mean, you've played it like hours and hours and hours, but they the enemies didn't even seem to like get pushed back by your attacks or anything. They were just like,
no.
It looks super
they just
hard.
tank the blows.
Are you enjoying it though? Are you having fun?
I am. I did have to go. I went back through the tutorial just so I could remember what the hell I'm doing.
I'm terrible for starting games without bothering with the tutorial, and then I get about an hour in, and I'm like, I hate this game, it's awful. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should read the tutorial. And then I go through the tutorial, and I'm like, oh, actually, I just didn't know how to play it. It's fine.
I did manage to on stream yesterday because I streamed it on Twitch.
I saw that. I was busy, unfortunately. I couldn't join you. But cool. I may rewatch the Twitch stream though. That's is that Twitch TV Chon Games? Is that?
No, it's Twitch TV CG_pirate.
There you go. Go follow that.
Yeah. I did. I found a new sword, like a very very big two-handed sword that does send the enemies flying, which good. I'm loving.
Well, that makes things a bit easier.
Yeah, it's slower and takes more stamina though.
You just got to plan your attacks a little better. Have you been playing anything else, or have you just been like focusing on Mortal Shell and?
Been playing a bit of Dark Souls 3 for the playthrough, and with you, obviously, we've been playing some Minecraft.
We played a lot of Minecraft the last couple of weeks, and looking forward to doing it again. Maybe next weekend we'll get back on Minecraft. Yeah, you built a tower and stuff. Next episode of that should be out before this podcast, actually. It should be out today or tomorrow. So, awesome. Good stuff. That's on Chon Games as well. Yeah, so I've obviously been playing Minecraft with you, which has been it's been great fun. It's been a long time since I played Minecraft, so it's been really nice getting back into it. I've really enjoyed it. I think when you've had like a big gap from a game, it's really fun to go back, especially with something like Minecraft, especially now because they've added so much to the game. I'm like, I don't remember this. I didn't know that. I was like, I was looking back through the footage the other day, and I was like, there was a moment in the game when I just stopped, and I was like, oh my god, there's bees, because I just like there were never bees before. But yeah, other than that, I've been playing IL2 Sturmovik, Battle of Stalingrad. Is a flight sim. Like a World War II flight sim.
Oh right.
Because I've got the old HOTUS joystick and flight stick, so I was like, I want something to go back and do that. So I'm playing that, but it's like a proper sim, and I'm rubbish at it. It's really good fun. Like it's a really immersive. It's always really immersive when you've got something like a proper flight stick with throttle and all of that stuff. So it's fun to get set up and play, but I am terrible at it. I'm really rubbish. I would.
The new Microsoft flight sim.
I haven't, but it looks amazing. Have you seen the footage?
I have. I've
incredible.
A guy on YouTube that's pretty much all he plays. Air Force Proud.
Really?
Yeah, he's hilarious, but he's also I think he's actually an actual pilot as well.
But they've taken Bing Maps now. So basically, you can go anywhere in the world, and it will have to an extent. It will have basically, they've got photos of aerial photos of the entire world, so you can go anywhere in the world and get the aerial photos. And then in some places, obviously most cities, they've added 3D, and it just looks incredible. I mean, obviously it's a bit janky in places, but you kind of expect that. It's the entire world, and they've done their best in cities. But it looks absolutely stunning. You can take real-time flights. I watched a video of a guy, and he was like, I literally looked up in the air, saw a plane flying over my house, went in, booted up the game, found that flight, and took over that flight. It's like that's just amazing. That's so cool. It's one of those games. The Flight Simulator I played, God, years and years, back in the 90s. I played a flight simulator game and I enjoyed it. But nowadays I look at it and it just looks so intimidating. I'm like, it looks like there's so much that I need to know and do. And I know you can kind of dumb them down to like my level of gameplay. But I just feel like that's cheating. It's like with this game, with Sturmovik. I'm like, I know he can make it easier for me, but it just feels like cheating. I was like, I want to get good at it as it is, like, as the simulation is and should be played. But yeah, I'm not very good at it. But yeah, Flight Sim 2020, Microsoft Flight Simulator looks amazing. It really does. Yeah. It's been a while since they've done one though, right? It's been like 7 years or something. So
yeah, I think so.
So I guess they've had time to properly, sort it out and make it amazing. Anyway, what are we talking about today, Chris?
Well, today we are talking about the real-time strategy game, Age of Empires.
Age of Empires. One of your favourite series, I believe.
Oh, yes. Definitely one of my favourite strategy games of all time.
Where does it rank on your strategy games of all time? Is it, like, top?
I would actually have to say it's top.
I would have to say, like nostalgia aside, because I think if I put nostalgia in, it's probably always going to be Command and Conquer, because that was like one of the first. That and Warcraft.
I never actually got into Command and Conquer, unfortunately. We had them all on PC, but I never really got into them.
Yeah,
so I prefer my medieval setting.
Well,
so Age of Empires appealed to me more.
But honestly, if I take nostalgia out of it, especially now we've got definitive versions and HD re-releases, Age of Empires 2 is the best strategy game, I think.
Oh yeah.
Until you get into like that grand strategy stuff, and then maybe like Supreme Commander and that kind of stuff gets a bit more involved. But in terms of turn-based, in terms of real-time strategy, I can't think of a better one than Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings. But we'll get there. Let's go back to the start. So, I guess it starts with Bruce Shelley, ex-Avalon Hill employee who worked with Sid Meier to create, obviously, Railroad Tycoon, but then ultimately the very first Civilization back in 1991, which I probably don't need to explain to our listeners, but it was a turn-based strategy game where you basically take a civilization through time. You start as a primitive tribe and you end up as a spacefaring species. You head off to Alpha Centauri, and Bruce Shelley worked with him on that. And then 6 years later, Bruce Shelley would be like, I wonder what would happen if I take Civilization and make it real time. And basically we got Age of Empires. Obviously it didn't do exactly what Civilization does, but there are some crossovers there. You don't start as a primitive tribe and end up in space. It very much picks its periods, doesn't it? So you get your different periods.
Yeah.
So Age of Empires, I think 1997?
15th of October 1997, to be exact.
Well, there we go.
I did my research this time.
Yeah. When did you first play Age of Empires? What was your first experience with the first game?
I can't exactly tell you how old I was, but my dad's a big fan of Age of Empires. So when he'd be playing,
your dad's quite a gamer, isn't he? You mentioned the last time.
Yeah, he is.
It's cool. My dad's not a gamer at all, so.
Well, he played Age of Empires a lot, and we've pushed him towards like Borderlands and stuff like that. Now Call of Duty, he plays that. Minecraft.
Nice.
But yeah, when I was younger, I can't remember how old I was, probably too young to actually use a computer properly, would always see him playing Age of Empires and would always just sit there and watch. So that was the first one I played, because when I was old enough, I'd give it a go. And I think the Rise of Rome campaign was my favourite one.
That was definitely an improvement on Age of Empires, because I added quite a bit that kind of
Yeah, that was an expansion, wasn't it?
it's yeah. So Rise of Rome was the expansion to Age of Empires. It gave you new civilizations and scenarios, and yeah, it was great. I mean, Rome was kind of like an obvious missing element, I think, from civilization from Age of Empires. So. It was really nice. That definitely added and helped. I first remember playing Age of Empires on a demo CD back in, I guess, '97, and it was honestly one of the best demos I've ever played in my life. It's one of those demos, back in the day you used to get demos and it was like one level or whatever. The Age of Empires. Yeah, it probably is. I don't play demos anymore. I guess now you can just kind of like play a game on Steam and then refund it if it's rubbish within like 2 hours. So, demos are kind of done. But yeah, it was like the most amazing demo because it was really in depth and it gave you quite a bit to do for a demo. So I played the demo to absolute death. And then ultimately bought the big box version, which I have on my shelf over there at the moment. Which, by the way, has the most incredible box art. If people haven't seen the box art for Age of Empires, I think the series peaks with Age of Empires 2 gameplay-wise, but box art-wise, Age of Empires 1 is fantastic. It's an incredible box. So yeah, it was quite a unique game at the time. At least it felt like it to me. I don't know how it felt for you. But like I'd played Warcraft and I'd played Command and Conquer before, but never had I played like a real-time civilization effectively, where you're going through ages as you progress in the game, and I love that mechanic of the game. But yeah, '97 with Age of Empires and like Total Annihilation coming out and stuff, it really felt like these games were pushing the real-time strategy genre forward. It was like the next level of real-time strategy has arrived,
Yeah, the one issue I have with it, whenever I go back to it,
it's not an easy game to go back to now.
Yeah, but the one thing that always gets me, not being able to build gates.
Yep, there's a lot of
always got.
There's a lot of things. It's one of those unfortunate things. Sometimes, as much as I love my old games and as much as I will go back and play these old games, sometimes you just have to kind of concede that these games haven't aged well. When Age of Empires came out, it was amazing. But you go back to it now, and like the pathfinding for the units is really bad. Total Annihilation did that far better. Villagers just disappearing behind buildings. I mean, that happens in Age of Empires too, but you've got shortcut keys and stuff to help with that sort of thing. But villagers just disappearing and getting lost somewhere, and then you can't find them. Like, trying to find idle villagers is just such a pain. They only do one task. Like, they'll do a task and then just stop. And you're like, where are you? What are you doing?
Especially because the mini-map wasn't the best either, was it? Because
No.
in the newer ones, you'd actually be able to see a bit of the map is lit up where one of your units is. In
Yeah,
the first
absolutely.
one, it just wasn't. And you were like, there's a villager around here.
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's the thing. You send them off to do something, and they'll just get lost in the woods, and they're just
Sucked into the void.
just no idea where they are. They're just out there somewhere. Probably the first you'll know about them is when the enemy kills them, and then you're like, oh, there they were. But yeah, at the time,
when they, if you set them to build something like in a corner, and they build themselves into the corner and then can't
they're
move,
just stuck.
you have to delete the villager or delete the building. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it is really frustrating to go back to now, but at the time, it was amazing. So the idea is much like Civilization, but on a smaller scale, obviously, because we're talking real-time strategy. You build your... You start to build your community, your village, and you go through the different eras. So you start in the Stone Age and you end in the Iron Age in the original Age of Empires, if I remember rightly.
I believe so.
Yeah, so you start off in the Stone Age, building your little village, gathering resources, and resource management is like a huge part of Age of Empires, more so than like Command and Conquer. I mean, Command and Conquer and games like that, you had like Tiberium, and you go and get the Tiberium, and that's all you need to do everything. Not so with Age of Empires.
You've got to get stone, gold, food, wood.
Yeah,
And you have to keep on top of the gold because that goes fast.
it does it. Well, it all goes fast if you don't, and you need to mine for all sorts of stuff in later games. But it's very much resource management and micromanagement in the first game particularly. Keeping track of your villagers and making sure they're on task and collecting the resources you need. So it's basically resource collection, building your village, and then as you build your village and town and buildings, you then are able to level up, and by leveling up, you go through into a different age. So you reach the Iron Age, and then you've got different your units get upgraded, and your buildings get upgraded as you kind of progress through history.
You also unlock. They say if you got like a blacksmith, you go up through an age. You got the options for like better armor, better like cavalry units move faster. Obviously, different units like archers, you can extend their range and stuff like that. You really got along with even building your town and your like settlement up. You do have to build an army as well to defend it.
Yeah. We do. Well, you don't. You do and you don't. Because obviously
not if you fill out the walls with towers.
You can fill up the wall with towers. You can do some diplomacy. Or
kill them all.
Kill them all. Or do you kill them all? Because I always remember my favorite trick with Age of Empires 1, just make priests and convert everyone. Priests are the most overpowered thing in the original Age of Empires. Just send a priest out and they'll just convert soldiers. And on all the enemy soldiers, just convert all of them to your side.
They just stand there like, wololo.
Yeah, wololo. Done. You're on our side now.
Noise.
And then their outfits change color and they're like, yes, cool, I'm on your side now. It's that easy. So I always remember like the priests are really overpowered. All I used to do in Age of Empires 1 is build priests and catapults. Those are my two things, and that's all I did. Just bring the catapults around and demolish the buildings. Priests go around and convert the people.
I would always, if I was playing like a random match, I would always make sure it's got like some water or like islands or something, because I am heavily naval based.
So am I, dude. Like I was gonna say that one of my favorite things about Command and Conquer Red Alert was that it added the naval units, and I was like, I love the naval stuff. And then when I came to play Age of Empires, the naval stuff in Age of Empires is so much fun. Not as much fun as it is in Age of Empires 2, but it is fun in Age of Empires. Because obviously you got your fishing boats, and then you've got your
your galleys and galleons. Warships, aren't
warships, and amazing.
Galleys and galleons. That's Age of Empires 2, isn't it?
I think there might be a galleon in Age of Empires 1. I mean, certainly you get the bigger naval ships. But yeah, I mean, Age of Empires 2 is where it's really at when we get to naval. When we get to a lot of things.
I do remember one of my favorite. I did a random match on Age of Empires 1.
Okay.
It was Little Islands.
Yeah.
And I ended up winning the game. I surrounded their entire island with boats, and they just could not get away.
Just stuck on that tiny little island.
Yeah, and then just send transport ships in with men. If they tried to run to the coast to get blown up by the ships. I'm very heavily naval based in Age of Empires.
Yeah.
As long as if there's water, don't bother going into the ocean. You'll get killed.
I generally, if I have a choice, I will not play a map that doesn't have water.
Sometimes if you put it on random, you can't help it though, can you?
No, I know, but I will always try and play a game where there is water, because I like to have every element. I think missing water, you kind of lose a lot of the strategy, because you don't have that extra. You miss out on all the naval stuff then if you don't have enough water,
It's gonna be very interesting when I get my PC and because I'm assuming we're going to have a match against each other, and some like when we're on the same team. It's going to be interesting when we're against each other. It's just going to be a battle in the ocean. That's it.
It might be. Yeah, it might well be. I have a feeling you'll kick my ass on Age of Empires 2, because I think you've played it a lot more than me.
I haven't played for a long time.
Well, I've got the definitive version, and I went back to play it this week, in preparation for this, and just fell in love with it again. Just absolutely. Oh,
it's hard not to.
You go back to it and you just remember how much fun it is. Did you ever use
you can sit there for hours?
Yeah. Did you ever use the missile car and the laser soldier in Age of Empires?
The laser bear.
It was a guy, wasn't it? I thought it was like a soldier.
It was a bear with a Canada cape on that went around shooting lasers out of his eyes.
Oh, yes, you may be right. And the car. that you can drive
Yes,
around
of
as
course,
well.
the cheats. Everyone knows the cheats.
Good fun if you want to level a civilization. Those missile cars do a good job.
Just a load of those bears just running
Or the
around because they're
bears,
super
yeah.
fast.
Were they
I do like
bears? I don't
they're
remember
all
them
wearing little
being
Canada
bears. That's
capes as well.
funny. In my head, they weren't bears; they were soldiers. I'm gonna have to go back and look at footage of that now. But yeah, what a
Pretty
game!
positive they're bears.
It's one of those games. It's not so much fun now, but I think only because Age of Empires 2 takes Age of Empires and literally improves on every single aspect. It just improves
of course.
everything about the
More
game.
civilizations, more units,
Yep.
more buildings. You can build gates for one.
Oh, so are you? Is there anything else you'd like to say about Age of Empires 1?
No, I think it segues quite nicely into the second one.
Move on to where everything gets improved in 1999 with Age of Empires 2: Age of Kings, which, in my opinion, probably the best real-time strategy game of all time.
I will second that.
It's hard for me to find anything better, to be honest. And until you get to that grander scale, obviously. I think you've got real-time strategy, and then you've got that real sort of big strategic view games like Supreme Commander, where you've got, you can zoom out and out and out and out and out, and then you've got little icons and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But in terms of like the traditional real-time strategy,
Age of Empires: Age of Kings is a game that you can go back to even now.
Oh yeah,
and it's still amazing.
It's one of the few games. I mean, I play a lot of old games. Mostly, that's all I ever play. To be honest, is older games generally. If I wake up in the morning and I want to play a game, it'll either be a classic console game or it'll be a classic PC game. And I can say, as someone who's spent a lot of time getting those games running on Windows 10, games that I loved as a kid. Age of Empires from 1999 there are not many games that are from 1999 that are still played as much as Age of Empires 2 is today.
I think it also is to do with like the way it is, like the graphics.
Yeah, because the graphics for this game,
it's simple, but it's good. Like
I think
most of the other games, they tried to go 3D, and the graphics didn't go well, did they? It kind of
agree.
Boxy and glitchy.
I think 2D for me with real-time strategy is my favorite look anyway, and I think Age of Empires looked great. Like the graphics look great, and the art style is great, but Age of Empires 2 is just amazing.
They stepped up.
They really stepped up, and it is breathtaking. I mean, I think Age of Empires 2 pretty much influenced most games that would follow it, I think. I mean, after Age of Empires 2, you had like Empire Earth, Rise of Nations, like a bunch of games that basically were like Age of Empires 2, and they were like, oh, let's just do that. I mean, I know Rise of Nations, you went through time a bit further, but took that idea of Age of Empires and kind of went with it. And Age of Empires 2, I think, influenced a lot of those games because it was just the most perfect real-time strategy when it came out, and it's improved to this day. And I must say, if I say some stuff in my review of Age of Empires 2 that is wrong, correct me, because although I have the big box version over there, I have played the HD remaster, and then I've been playing the definitive version, which came out last year. So they've improved stuff over time. So I may say things that may not have been in the original game. It's hard for me to separate the original game from the improvements they've made now. But the
last time I played it was the HD definitive version on PC. So the original one.
So the first remaster from like 2013, I think it was.
Yeah. They've also brought out. Do you have the Forgotten expansion pack?
No, well, so I don't. So they did the HD remaster, and then they released a bunch of expansions. But they've now released the definitive version, which is like a 4K remaster, and it includes all the expansions that they've done. So it's basically like the definitive Age of Empires 2.
Right.
In 4K. I wish I should have brought the big box over from the shelf. I did this with Command and Conquer. I got the big box, and I was like, well, the original Command and Conquer was like a 500, like it was like a 50 megabyte install or something, and then it was like the actual game. No, it was a 20 megabyte install, and the remaster was like 20 gigabyte, and I think it's the same with this because I reinstalled the definitive version of Age of Empires 2 this week, and it was like 25 gig compared to the original game. That was probably about, I don't know, I'm gonna guess about 500 meg. Yeah, it's really funny.
They weren't big back then.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a lot of space back then, and a lot of these games, especially with Command and Conquer, obviously they had all of the cutscenes and stuff on disc. But this is what happens when you do these massive, amazing 4K versions. Obviously, there's a lot more space needed for them.
With all the graphics updated and everything, and the music, it takes up more room.
Yeah. So did you? Sorry, go on.
No, I just said it's going to happen more. It's going to take more if you upgrade it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's worth it. The time and love that they've put into these remasters is just incredible. But anyway, let's go back to 1999. Did you play Age of Empires first, or did you play Age of Empires 2 first, or did you just watch your dad playing both? I guess.
I watched my dad play the first one, and I gave the first one a bit of a go, and didn't really get on with it that well. It's
a lot
janky.
harder. It is. It is. It's one of those things that in '97 it was fine, but a few years later you're like, oh no, I can't deal with that anymore. And that's the thing, isn't it? Age of Empires 2 is so much more intuitive.
Yeah, I spent most of my time playing Age of Empires 2. It's the one I played the most.
Same.
Closely followed by Age of Mythology. That was a good one.
We will get to that one next. We will get to that one next because I think that's a real. I think it's kind of overlooked almost now, but Age of Mythology was great. So
was the Conquerors? Was that Age of Empires 3 or was that another expansion for the second one?
The second one, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah, Age of Empires 2: The Conquerors. I think it is. I think it's for Age of Empires 2 expansion. Yeah, I believe so. It's been a long time. I don't own the expansions. I only own the base games, and then obviously I've got the expansions now through having them on Steam. But I'm pretty sure The Conquerors was Age of Empires 2. We'll have to check. But
what was your favourite campaign from the Age of Kings?
Oh, do you know? It's hard for me to say because I don't know what campaigns were originally in it versus now. What was your favourite campaign? Because I feel like you're going to have one.
Attila the Hun.
Oh yeah, fair. Actually, that is a really good campaign. I would probably go with that myself. So we'll get let's get to that in a moment. But briefly, we're talking about a 1,000 year time frame for Age of Empires 2. So it's from the Dark Ages almost through to the Renaissance, isn't it?
Yes. What's the last one? Is it the Feudal Age or no Imperial Age? Isn't it? It's the last age.
Sorry, yes, you're right. It's the Imperial Age. Yes.
Yeah, 'cause it's Dark Age.
Starts in the Dark Ages.
Castle Age?
Yes. Yeah.
I might get them in the wrong order. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, but it goes through time like the first one, but it's a different period of time, which is something I really liked as well. They didn't tend to stick to the same ages. Like each game was like a different period of history.
Yeah.
They weren't like you weren't starting in the Stone Age again. It was like we'll go through different ages. So yeah, Attila the Hun is your favorite campaign for Age of Empires 2.
Yeah, because I just love, along with naval units, I love cavalry.
Yeah, the cavalry,
especially the archers. You can run in, decimate a village, and bugger off before they can get you.
The cavalry in Age of Empires 2 is amazing. And one thing I think they really improved with Age of Empires 2 over 1 is if you look at the back of the box for Age of Empires 1, they've got these amazing looking set out cities and epic battles, like epic battle scenes where all the units are lined up and ready to fight the enemy and they're all in formation. It looks amazing, and you could never do that in the game. Like, they'd obviously set that up. You couldn't do that in the game, and the game never looked like that. But Age of Empires 2 did. Age of Empires 2
you've
did
got the
look
options,
like that.
haven't you? You've got the options to put them in formations.
In formation, and it looks so cool. Like getting all of your units and then telling them, you just press a button, you're like, go into this formation, and they all go into formation, and it looks amazing. It looks so cool. Or it did back then. Obviously nowadays it's easy. You've got Total War and stuff that all does that for you, but back in the day, being able to sort your units like that and tell them to get into formations and stuff was just the coolest thing. It was the coolest thing ever.
I've probably spent about half an hour getting all my units in like spearmen at the front, swordmen behind, archers, and then cavalry at the sides. I spent ages setting that up. The enemy comes, they all just fucking run down the hill anyway.
Yeah, they all just go crazy and it's just chaos. But it just looks so
good
cool.
to start
it
with.
looks so cool. And basic things like, I mean, the Age of Empires 2 improves so much. Like the mechanics are so much better. I think the AI, which is something Age of Empires really struggled with, is so much better in Age of Empires 2. They're much better at strategizing. The pathfinding is so much better for the units. They know where they're going. They don't get stuck in woods or disappear.
No, they find their way around it.
The units still hide behind buildings, but you've got that idle villager thing now where you can press the button and find the idle villagers. It's like, oh, thank you. And also
straight to them.
Yeah, and also I don't know if this is an improvement over over time and whether it was there or not originally, but but certainly now, and I'm pretty sure it was back in the day as well. The villagers were a lot better at just doing stuff. Like I'd give them a task, like go build this, and then they would move on and build other things and just do stuff. Whereas in the original game, you'd be like, do that, and then they go do it, and then just stand there like an idiot afterwards. Like,
if you send them to build a building.
And there's other buildings,
Yeah, they'll go and do that. But if they do finish, they will actually go and if there's people cutting wood nearby, they'll just go and do that instead.
Exactly, and that is so much better.
The only time that they really go idle is if there's no other buildings or
there's nothing to do. Yeah,
or if their farm runs out, because then they will just stand there.
Yeah, but it's hard to explain how much better that is, but the thing that kind of defines Age of Empires over a game like Command and Conquer is that there's a lot of micromanagement with Age of Empires games. You need to do a lot. You need to deal with your villagers. There's like, how many? There's like four? I want to say 4. There's like 4, because there's gold, wood, food,
stone. Gold, wood, stone, food. Yeah, that's it.
That's 4. So it's like 4 different things you need to manage in terms of resource. And obviously you need to manage your tech tree. You need to there's a lot more to Age, because it's kind of half, or I guess 3/4 RTS and then 1/4 civilization, where you're kind of building your you're going through the ages and up through your tech tree. Command and Conquer, you just build your tech center, and then look, I've got all this new stuff. Or you build your war factory, and look, now I can build tanks. Now with Age of Empires, you have to go through time, and you have to go through ages. And
you've also got to keep on top of your population limit.
You do, and one of the key things, which I think new players always fuck up with Age of Empires 2 when they're playing multiplayer.
Build loads of villagers.
Well, you need to
build loads of villagers to get loads of resources, and when it comes time to build an army, they got no population limit left.
Where do you stand with that? I tend to find I do like almost 3/4 villager to 1/4 army. Because you need those resources, but you definitely need the army. Maybe half and half. I don't know.
I think. Well, to start off with, I will build like straight away. I'll use all my food on new villagers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You need so many villagers. I try and build like 3 town centers if possible.
Yeah, I try and set an equal amount of them in each resource. And when I go to the next stage, then I'll focus on building walls and some archers. Because I like to wall myself in first, so people just can't walk in.
Me too. And that's another thing I'm glad we're getting to. I fucking love the walls in Age of Empires 2. It's a really lame thing to say, but honestly, it's so easy to put walls down and then build your gates, and it's great.
Gates. Good. I know I've said this already, but gates just them having gate. This sounds a lame thing to be excited about.
No,
Gates!
but it's not. And I think that if people have played this game, right, if they played it back in the day in 1999, they'll get it because it's mind-blowingly cool, man. You just drag out that wall, and then I can build a wall all the way around my base. Just drag it out and completely encompass my base with the wall, and then I can just click on the gate and just drop it anywhere on that wall, and it will make the gate on that wall. It's great. I love it.
I like how you can lock them as well.
Yeah.
In case, say, if you're under attack, you can lock the gate so your men don't go out, because then the enemy can come through when the gate's open. So if you lock it, just get your archers and towers to shoot them over the wall.
Absolutely.
And then when most of them are dead, unlock the gate and send the cavalry out.
Yeah. It's really it sounds like we're kind of picking minor things like, you know, oh, like the villagers are so much better at doing other tasks and pathfinding and all this, but honestly, and the gates but it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference with such
I wouldn't say
an in-depth
we're
management.
Picking and choosing little things. I wouldn't say we're picking and choosing little things. It's those little things that help you play the game.
It is
without that better pathfinding and better villagers, you wouldn't have the time to focus on other things because you're just focusing on the villagers.
Yes.
So it sounds like little things, but it's a base element of the game that you actually need.
And when you realize how much you're dealing with in Age of Empires in terms of that resource management and military management and going through the ages, these little things really help. They really help.
Of course.
One thing I really love as well is that the UI is so much better in Age of Empires 2, and I really love that they split the military from the village stuff. So it's all in separate tabs. You just go to like my military things. These are the military things I want to build. And village, here's the village things I want to build. Assuming that was in the original game. It's in the definitive version. I'm pretty sure it was in the original.
It was in the original game, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I love that because, like, you know, if you want military stuff, you just go to that tab. If you want, you know, village stuff, you go to that tab. Male and female units now. We get male and female villagers, not just male, which is nice.
Bit of diversity.
A bit of diversity, yeah. I mean, again, that might be something they added more recently. I'm pretty sure it was in the original, though.
I think it was in the original, but still, that's some forward thinking from 1999.
It is. That's what I mean, right? That was quite different from 1999, and really cool. And it also makes more sense now because you know, in Age of Empires 1, you build your houses, and there were just a bunch of guys around, but they produced babies somehow. and now you're like, okay, this makes more sense now, right? I'm like, no,
they also did what are the campaigns? Even for 1999, they had Joan of Arc, which was a female-led campaign.
Yeah.
Very good campaign as well. Very hard, but good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, that I just got really distracted by Bill and Ted then. So you mentioned Joan of Arc, I started thinking about Bill and Ted. I always find it weird in Bill and Ted, they take all the people back afterwards, and Bill and Ted's like a real fun, you know, silly comedy. And it's like they take her all back to their period in time, and I'm like, do you realize what happens to Joan of Arc if you take her back? Like, it's not a good end for her.
No, she gets burnt at the stake.
Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. And Bill and Ted just don't give a shit. But anyway, yeah. So what else can we say about Age of Empires 2? I
think the campaigns are longer, which is good, and they're a bit more immersive.
Yeah,
they're definitely harder.
It's so much.
What was it? The Saladin one. That was hard.
Yes, yeah. Some of the campaigns are really hard. I ended up, to be honest, like these days, it's been so long since I played a campaign because I just do skirmishes now. It's pretty much what I do in Age of Empires. But it's so much fun to build in Age of Empires 2, more so than certainly than 1. Just building your perfect castle, village, base, you know?
Yeah, it's nice when you've got it all walled in, you've got enough...
And you've got everything in the right places.
And then you've got farms.
Because I always like to... I said this to Daz with like Command and Conquer games and stuff, and I always like having a ceasefire, which you can set in Age of Empires 2. You can be like, Have this period where
Yeah.
we don't attack each other, and it just gives you time to build everything and make it all nice. And because I hate that, like I hate those strategy games where it's just like you just get rushed, and it's like, because there's no fun in
Yeah,
that. I want the
I've
enemy
found-
and myself to have a base and have a village, have a town, and have things to destroy. Not so it's always nice to have a bit of time first, and I love having like a nice amount of time to build up and build the perfect castle and base and defenses and everything like that. Just so cool because that art style looks so good and everything fits together so nicely in Age of Empires 2.
I do also like each civilization. That each building looks different, like
Yes,
aesthetically to that civilization, and I reckon it's a small thing, but that's really cool because some of the castles, like the Viking castle, looks amazing, like
Yeah,
the
it
big
looks
square
awesome.
towers.
yeah,
Or the
so good.
what was it, the Persians? Their castle with the big round like towers that kind of go bow in the middle and come out at the top. It
Yes.
just looks so good.
Yeah, they look amazing, and you're right. Like each and one of the only faults, which I think is one of the few things that is improved on slightly with Age of Mythology, is that with Age of Empires 2, although you have a lot of different factions and civilizations, they end up pretty much playing quite similarly, but they do look visually different, and they look amazing.
Well, there is also you get the each civilization's got like a special unit, haven't they? Like the English,
yeah.
they've got the longbowmen.
The Britons.
Vikings, you got the berserkers.
Yeah,
The Huns, you get those. I can't remember what they're called. Begins with a T, but they.
Not
No, I
sure.
can't remember what they're called. Tuscans.
Tuscans.
Tuscans. Yeah, they run around. They like kind of throw fire from a sling on horseback.
Yeah.
Get a
They're
load of
awesome.
them. That's amazing. You can run through a village with that.
Yeah. We should. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention how amazing the soundtrack is. If Daz is listening to this, he's going to laugh because I like, literally every episode say the soundtrack is really good.
No,
but
the soundtrack is good.
Oh my
So good.
god, Stephen Rippey. The soundtrack in this game is amazing. He used a lot of instruments from the Middle Ages in the making of the music, so it perfectly suits the civilization you're using and the setting and period. It's awesome. It hypes me up every time I hear it.
No, it is, especially even the battle music when you go into battle. That's
That's amazing
nice as well.
It gets you going, right? It just gets you in the mood to
The
pillage
thing I
and
find,
ruin some
sometimes
village.
sometimes the battle music could be going, and I'm still building stuff. I'm like, where's being attacked? And nothing's showing up on the map. I'm like, what's going on? And then I go over and there's a villager getting attacked by a wolf or something. I'm
Just
like, come on,
one
really?
little villager over there. Well, people will die. It's it's the Dark Ages. People are gonna die. So the other big thing, one of the last things I wanted to touch on is the map creator for Age of Empires 2.
Oh,
Which I think is one of
that's
the biggest reasons that Age of Empires 2 is still around to this day. Because, the fan base, and it kind of shows throughout history with video games, to be honest. When you look at, like, John Carmack insisting on id releasing the source engines for, like, Doom and Quake, and you see throughout history that those games that last forever are the ones that allow the community to create stuff. And the Age of Empires 2 map creator... Sorry?
That was the map creator was inbuilt in the original game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I think it's one of the main reasons that it's still played to this day, and the fan base stayed so rabid that we had two remasters now. We had the HD and now the 4K, and I think it's all down to this map creator. It's allowing people to make these amazing maps and levels, their own levels. It was so much fun. I had a lot of fun back in the day making my own maps.
Yeah. For people who haven't actually played Age of Empires, when we say make our own map,
Yeah.
you start with like say just flat grass the entire map. You can raise up hills, you can put cliffs in, you can build forests, you can put resources down, you can make rivers. Because some people who haven't played it when they say like map creator, they think of like Doom map creator and stuff like that. They
Oh
might not
yeah,
understand
no,
what you
not
meant.
like that. No.
Yeah, it's kind of you make your own terrain, your little world, and then you play it. You can set an enemy point and your point, and then you can play it. It is really cool.
It is,
'Cause
and,
you can,
and
like,
you're putting
in
down
case-
things. You're putting down things like fishing areas, and you're putting down, all of that kind of stuff, the environmental stuff. And the key thing with making, for me, when I make a map, is that I give enough space for each faction, because there's nothing worse than trying to build a castle and then realizing you can't build your wall because there's bloody terrain in the way. Irritating. So I always like to give a bit of space, so you can get your area nice and big, and you can get your walls down and everything like that. It's key. It's key to a good map.
I like to make it like easy. I'll make a map for about 3 people, and like in 3 corners of map, most of it be a cliff with 1 or 2 openings for everyone, just to make it that bit harder. So if you want to attack someone, you can only go through 1 bit because the rest is cliff.
Yeah,
and the same if they
everyone.
want to attack you.
And I'm guessing your maps
Yeah.
have a lot of water as well.
Oh yes, a lot of water. I like to islands with water around the edges, like a bit through the middle. Yeah, and I'll storm you by sea. I'll come in with the boats, kill your dock, your towers, and then I'll land the transport ships with cavalry and archers.
Bring
and
them
stuff.
in. Awesome, good stuff. Have you got anything else to say? It's kind of, it's kind of irritating because we've got a bunch of, we've got a couple of games to go through still, but we've peaked. It's like, here we are, it's the best one, let's move on. But have you got anything else to say about Age of Empires 2 other than it's probably the best RTS of all time?
Apart from, if you haven't played it, go and get it. You will not be disappointed.
And get the definitive version. It's really good. It's better than the HD remaster one. I highly recommend the definitive version. Do the tutorials, because it can be a bit overwhelming, and maybe watch some videos on YouTube. There are some like YouTube videos on like getting started in Age of Empires 2, and that will really help you. Knowing how to manage your resources and what to build initially will really help you. Or just play through the campaigns and the tutorials, and you'll pick it up. It's an awesome game, one of the best RTSs of all time, if not the best.
Especially do the tutorials if you haven't played Age of Empires before.
Yeah.
And also be prepared that the games can go on for a long time.
Oh yeah, that's half the fun. You need to invest some time. Yeah. If you're playing a decent multiplayer game, or even a campaign.
I'd say about the first half hour is sort of building up your base, getting resources.
Yeah.
So if you're bored easily, it's probably not the game for you.
No, and this is what I was saying to differentiate it from games like Command and Conquer and Warcraft, is that you're not rushing enemies. Command and Conquer was always like, build these units, rush the enemy. Build these units, rush the enemy. That's not the case with Age of Empires, because you can win, which we haven't mentioned. You can win by building a wonder. If the game, if the game, I know you're not playing that way, and I don't tend to play that way, but you can add that into the game where you can build a wonder, and then if you have the wonder long enough, and you can defend the wonder long enough, then you win the game that way. You can win through diplomacy, potentially.
You can also win if you hold all the relics in your monastery.
Yes. So you can get relics which can be picked up by your priests and taken into your monastery. And if you keep them in your monastery, all of them...
Make gold. They produce gold the longer you have them in there.
Yeah, they don't produce an awful lot of gold, but they produce some. But if you get enough of them, you can win the game. So it's worth doing.
There's normally about 4, isn't there? 4 or 5?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get them all, you can win. But you have to keep them... You've got to keep them for like quarter of an hour or something, don't you? 20 minutes?
Something like that, yeah. So, in any case, Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings, one of the best RTSs of all time. But it's time for Age of Empires to go 3D. And Age of Mythology in 2002. So they decided this time, we've done this now. We've done this twice. Let's spice it up a bit. Let's change it a little. And let's add mythology into the mix. So Age of Mythology came in 2002, and it is an awful lot like Age of Kings. It's 3D Age of Kings, kind of, in terms of resource management. You've still got a lot of resources to manage. You've still got
There's another resource to manage, though, isn't there?
There is another
resource now.
Yes, favor
from the gods.
So one of the things I really like about Age of Mythology is you look at the cover and you're just like, oh, okay, it's just all going to be like mythological creatures all the time. And it's really not. The thing I really like about Age of Mythology is that generally you are using the standard historical units. It's not all gods and mythological creatures everywhere. A lot of it is the standard historical units that you'd expect from an Age of Empires game. But depending on who your faction worships, which gods your factions worship, you can get unique mythological creatures. And I love it. I think for me, just under Age of Empires 2 is Age of Mythology.
Oh, definitely. But I'd say the expansion, the Titans.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 The expansion is amazing.
So what Durs is saying with the mythological creatures. Say if you're Greek, you get minotaurs.
Yeah, you get Egyptians
Pegasus
get
as a flying
scarabs
scout.
and things.
Yeah, like Golden Colossus. Or Egyptians. One of my favorite units, the Anubites, because they can jump over walls.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my favorite faction for Age of Mythology is the Greeks. Because I've always found the Greeks have such a cool mythology anyway, that I'm always like, oh yeah, I want to play as the Greeks because I want the Minotaurs and all that stuff. It's just awesome.
See, I'm stuck because I quite like playing the Norse.
You know, the Norse are a close second for me because I actually Norse mythology as well.
If I'm playing against someone, if I have to pick a faction, Atlantean. I'd have to pick Atlantean.
Oh, Atlantean's cool. Yeah.
Well, the villagers don't need like workstations to go to. They can forage as they go because they've got the donkey with them, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely.
And their units can regenerate, especially if you get the right Titan. Your Titan regenerates as well.
Yes. So, as I said with Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings, as perfect a game as it is, I do feel that while you rightly said there are the odd unit that is unique to each faction. The factions essentially do play very similarly. And one of the things I really like about Age of Mythology is that it's very different. Each faction will play in a very different style. They really kind of separate them in this, and I think it works really well as a result. Like you just said, one faction you won't have to do the resource management as much. They won't have to go back to a base of operation because they've got the donkeys with them. I love all of that stuff. They really kind of separate the races to where it feels like their own thing.
They've also separated it a bit more. Like there's certain buildings that only a certain faction can get, and the way you get favor from different
is completely different.
Factions is different. Like some you've got to pray at a temple, some you have to build like obelisks and stuff, and some you gain through like the Norse. You gain through battles and stuff. You gain favor through that. So
because obviously Odin, god of war.
They're really separating them more. Making it more diverse, which is nice.
I really love that. I really do. One of the other things I really like about Age of Mythology is it takes that rock paper scissors gameplay from Age of Empires 2 and really runs with it to where there is units and counter units, the units that counter those units, and you need to know which units counter which units. You get the mythical creatures, which you don't build like a million mythological creatures, but you have these big mythological creatures which are really strong units. But then you have the heroes, and the heroes can take down the mythological creatures. Well, we'll get more into the heroes with Age of Empires 3 because I think that's where it goes really wrong for me. But here it works really well. The heroes work really well in Age of Mythology, I think. So the so you've got your general units, your historical units, your horseback units, and your standard infantry units. They're really good for fodder. They're good fodder. Then you've got your mythological creatures, which are fantastic, strong units. And then you've got your heroes, which are designed. You wouldn't want to waste them on your standard units, but they're there for taking down the mythological creatures.
Yeah. Some of the heroes are better than the others.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's very well balanced because I think if you've got less good heroes, you generally have better mythological creatures or god powers.
Oh, Yes, I wondered
God
when we were going to get onto that.
powers. Well, talk to me about God powers, man.
Right. Like in every other Age of Empires, when you go to a different age, you get new buildings and stuff. But in
Yeah.
this one, you got there's four squares at the top, and every age you go up, you unlock a different god power, but you have to choose. Every time you go to another age, you'll have pictures of two different gods, and it'll tell you what they can do for you. Like, say this one gives you this unit and this god power, and the other one gives you different units and a different god power. You have to choose, and you have to choose carefully because you can't go back.
No. What is your favorite god power? If you had to pick one.
I like the Vault of Plenty, which is pretty good. It's basically a vault you put down that produces all resources like quite steadily.
Yeah.
Or there's another one I quite like. It's the Egyptian one where you can turn the pharaoh into the son of Ra.
Oh yes.
Or is it the son of Ra or son of Isis?
Like yeah. I know what you mean. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Just turns into this little mini god that runs around shooting lightning at everything, and he's pretty much a tank.
Yeah. Is it the Greeks that have got the statues? I can't remember which ones have the living statues.
That go around your town centre. Yeah, I think that is Greek. Yes,
I think it's Greek. But I really, really enjoy it. I think it was a nice, interesting side departure from the series. It's not too removed. The core Age of Empires mechanics are still there. The core gameplay is still there. It's just a separate you got separate things, and I like that.
I just remembered one. I remembered a funny one. I think it might be Greek as well. But there is a god power. If an enemy's attacking you, you can use this god power and turn all enemy units into pigs.
Yeah.
They attack you and you end up with free food for a while.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, there's not much else for me to really say about Age of Mythology, other than it's great. The music's great. Again, wouldn't say it's on a par. I wouldn't say it's as good as Age of Empires 2 music-wise, but it's still very good.
We can just add a little bit on because we spoke about the Titans.
Oh yes, sorry, yes. So the Titans was an expansion pack, and what did it give you?
Well, when you got to the last age, you could build something called a Titan Gate.
Yeah.
Which takes ages to build.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, if it gets destroyed before you build it, you can't get another one.
Yeah.
But when it's complete, it'll open up and...
It informs the enemies as well, I think, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, and it shows up on their map.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like in Command and Conquer, if you built certain things, it would be like, this has been built. So it does that, and it tells all the enemies. It's same with Wonders, actually, because the same happens with Wonders in Age of Empires 2. So you build your Titan Gate, and it will tell all the other enemies on the map, like, this has been built, you might want to deal with this. But what happens if they don't deal with it, Chris? What happens if you do have it there long enough?
Then it opens up and a Titan will pop out. And by Titan, I mean it's basically an unstoppable unit about 100 times bigger than your standard villager.
And it was awesome. Like, seeing that in like 2002-3, whenever the expansion came out, was amazing. It was so cool.
It's basically, if you don't have another Titan to face that Titan, you're going to lose unless you have a massive military.
You would have to have...
I think I've only taken down one Titan without another Titan before. Just one. And it took everything I had. They
are kind of designed as an end game unit, effectively.
Yeah. They cost a lot to build as well, though.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Well, rightly so. You know, it's an end game, really. It's kind of like the Wonder, really. You know, once you've made it, like, the game's over.
But this is more fun because you can just stomp around and destroy everything.
Yeah, it's way more fun. But yes, Age of Mythology, highly recommended. I think there's probably a definitive version of Age of Mythology out there. I haven't checked. I haven't played Age of Mythology for a long time, but a tremendous game, well worth checking out.
Yeah,
second on my list of Age of Empires games to check out.
Yeah. Age of Kings, then Mythology.
Yeah, in fact, from this list, I would honestly say if I was going to recommend games, I would probably only recommend these two now, these days.
Yeah.
Age of Empires 2 and Age of Mythology are the two I would go for. but Age of Empires 3. So 2005, Age of Empires 3 came out using an visually improved Age of Mythology engine, so still in 3D.
I don't like it.
Nor do I.
The visuals, I don't like it. It doesn't feel like Age of Empires to me. I don't like. Mythology was all right. I could deal with that. Age of Empires 3 doesn't look like Age of Empires. I don't like it.
I agree. Yeah. There are issues with it. It is technologically improved. It looked amazing at the time it came out. It looked like visually it was good. Like, wow, this looks good. But it does have some real issues.
Doesn't feel like Age of Empires to me.
No, the biggest crime that I think this game does or commits is that in Age of Empires, as I said, you go through ages, and as you go through the ages, you upgrade your units, and your units always used to look very different when they were upgraded, so you could easily tell that's an upgraded unit. I've moved through time, this is a new unit. In this game, because they went with the 3D engine, and I guess they couldn't do as much as they could in 2D at the time, they were kind of limited by the technology. It's not terribly clear when a unit's been upgraded, because it effectively uses the same model and just kind of palette swaps a few things. It's nowhere near as clear as it was in old games. In the old games, it'd be like, oh, they've got a shield now, they've got this armor now, it looks very different. Not as clear in this one, I don't think, which really annoys me.
Yeah, well, I can't really comment too much on this game because I think I played about an hour of it and I was like, I don't like this.
I was going to say, other than Age of Empires Online, which I've never played, Age of Empires 3 is my least played, so I've got the least amount to say about this one.
Yeah.
But effectively, this one moves forward to the pioneers, doesn't it, effectively?
Yes.
So you start off in kind of toward the ancient history to the pioneers. And the campaign follows... I think the campaign was actually kind of interesting. It had one of the most interesting story arcs. So you play as the Black family... and you do it in 3 acts. I think Act 1 is like the 16th century, and then the next 2 acts are like the 18th century, different periods of the 18th century. And it's basically 3 generations of the Black family. It was kind of interesting, but for me, the setting is less interesting. I'm less interested. I don't... Like, the pioneers and stuff, it's a personal choice, but it's less interesting to me than the...
Yeah.
The Dark Ages and the Iron, all of that stuff was way more interesting to me than the Pioneers. It's a personal choice. If you like that kind of period, then cool. If you're into like the more 18th century sort of stuff, fair enough. I
did like how you could like make and name your own hero, or like explorer is what they're called, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So I am not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it. I loved Age of Empires 2 when you had your scout immediately and you could send your scout out to go find stuff. I love all of that. The problem I have with Age of Empires 3 is that it feels like it's trying to be Warcraft 3, because your scout is now a hero unit, which is very Warcraft, and a lot of things that happen for me, I think in Age of Empires 3 is like Warcraft based, where you've got your hero unit that you can upgrade and they kind of level up, and it's like half RPG, half RTS. It just doesn't work for me, man. It's not Age of Empires. It's not Age of Empires.
No, I agree with you. This is one I don't like.
I think it tries to strike a balance between Age of Mythology and Age of Empires 2, but I don't think it manages either very well. And for me, it just ends up feeling quite unbalanced, personally.
Yeah, it's like, as I've said and you've said, it just doesn't feel like Age of Empires. It's not.
No.
I don't like it.
It's got its moments. It's got its things. I will say the graphics are superb. I agree with you. I'm not a fan of the graphics, personally. I prefer the 2D Age of Empires look, personally.
No, but I will agree. The graphics look good.
They're amazing. You could barely get a PC that would run it when it came out. I can tell you that. It was ridiculous. Nowadays, obviously, it runs fine. But back in the day, I struggled to find it. My PC didn't run it very well at all. I don't like the card system and the XP system. The game ultimately feels really grindy to try and unlock things. I'm not a fan of grind.
Age of Empires, you got to work for it, not grind.
Yeah, there are games when I like to grind. Age of Empires is not one of those games, I'm afraid.
No.
If I'm playing an RPG, I don't mind grinding. If I'm playing Minecraft, I don't mind grinding. But I do not.
No, because that's kind of... inherent in the actual game, isn't
That's
it?
the
If it's like an
gameplay.
RPG.
But that's
Yeah,
not
there's
what I'm coming to
grinding
Age of
involved.
Empires for. I'm not in Age of
Yeah.
Empires to grind. It just annoys me.
No.
I
You're here
don't
to
think.
strategize war.
Yes, exactly. Now, I don't think it's a terrible game. I think it is quite good, and I know there are people that absolutely love Age of Empires 3. Certainly, it's not held up in terms of fan base anywhere near as much as Age of Empires 2. But Age of Empires 2 is still leagues ahead of this one for me. As much as I like it, it's fine. But
again, this is just our personal opinion.
Of course, this is all our opinion, and we're not here to. The last thing I want to do in this with Icons of Sin, and me and Daz talked about this before, it's like we don't, we may say we don't like this game, but the Icons of Sin is a celebration of games, so we don't want to dwell too much on the negative. There is a lot to love in Age of Empires 3.
By any means, we're not saying it's a bad game.
No.
And we're not saying you shouldn't play it. If that's your thing, 100%
if
go
you're
ahead
into
and play
the Pioneers,
it's
and if you like
thing.
those mechanics, then go for it. I'm coming at it from the perspective of you as a listener have never played an Age of Empires game, and which games am I going to suggest from me personally? And for me personally, it's going to be Age of Empires 2 and Age of Mythology over Age of Empires 1, mainly because Age of Empires 1 has not aged well. And because Age of Empires 3, I just don't find the Pioneers as interesting. I don't like the hero unit stuff. I didn't mind it in Age of Mythology. I don't like it here. And I don't like the card stuff. I don't like the XP stuff. It's too grindy. It's trying to be Warcraft 3. I'm not a fan. But still,
that might be for you.
It may be for you.
That might be your game. That might be it. So.
But it is also my least played of the Age of Empires games. So maybe at some point I should go back to it and give it a go with a fresh look, and maybe I'll enjoy it more. But at the time, for me, it was fine. I played it for a bit, and then I went back to Age of Empires 2. That's kind of what happened.
Always go back to it.
So not a terrible game, but certainly for me, not as good. Then it got worse. This is not a game I've even and it's not a game I've even played, so I can't comment. What's played
this?
Age of Empires Online.
Oh, I don't play that.
No, so I have never played
heard of it.
Oh yeah, it didn't last long. I have never played it, but apparently it was horrendous. It was a free-to-play game. Imagine playing Age of Empires free-to-play online, where you basically have to pay to win.
Oh God, no.
Oh yeah, they really, really fucked this one. From what I've read, they took a competitive RTS and made it pay to win.
That takes the strategy out of it then.
Exactly. It basically fell flat on its face from what I've read. I've not played it, and if you loved it, cool. I just did my looking into this game for this show because I have never played this game. Full disclosure. Yes, apparently you basically, if you wanted to do anything in this game, you had to pay to get to different levels, to upgrade your units, to do everything.
Oh God!
Basically ruining the entire point of Age of Empires. And worse than that, I've seen it. They went with this cartoon art style, and it looks like it's a comedy, silly cartoon game. And you took the beautiful, beautiful graphics and renders from Age of Empires 2 and all of that wonderful work and just made it into a cartoon mess. I mean, it looks nice and slick and fine, but it's just not Age of Empires, man. It's just not Age of Empires.
Oh God, I just had a look at Age of Empires Online images. Oh God, what have they done?
I know. It's just horrible, isn't it? It's just not right. So Age of Empires Online sounded awful, and it's a real shame because a free to play, if they did it well, Age of Empires game would be so much fun.
But do you know what saves? Do you know what saves it?
What?
You can go on Age of Kings and you can do online matches on there with your friends.
Well,
so
of course you can, and now we got the definitive version. You can play it over Steam. It's super easy. It's tremendous. I should mention we also had a couple of DS games that came out around the time of Age of Empires 2. Very different games. They're not really they're Age of Empires in name, and they do their own thing, but it's not like a traditional Age of Empires game. Neither of them are. They're more like a tactics game than a real time strategy. They're fine, but Some good news is on the horizon, Chris, because Age of Empires 4 has been announced.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. And there is some...
Are they going to carry on from the number 3, or are they going to go back to the good art style?
It's in 3D, obviously. But, yeah...
What time period?
I'm not entirely sure, actually. I'm going to look it up while we talk, because I saw that it's been announced. Certainly the graphics look good, but you would expect that now, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So...
Of course, we're both gonna play it. So
oh, for sure.
You've got to see what it's like.
Yeah. Now they have said we're doing something very different with the campaign. I can't talk about it, but it's crazy cool, which kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
They said I can say that we will bring history in a fun and exciting way to people. The way we coined it for Age of Empires 4 is humanized histories. So they have said they're going to modernize it, but they're not going to overcomplicate things, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, you know, these days every game just looks amazing, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
So it's hard to say, but cautiously optimistic. I really hope we get a brand new Age of Empires game that's on a par with Age of Empires 2. Seems like an impossible task at this point to kind of topple that one. Is the kind of number one Age of Empires game, but I'm all for a sequel. I'm all for more games, and hopefully they can correct the wrongs of Age of Empires Online and kind of bring Age of Empires back in a glorious way that we can all celebrate and enjoy.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Because we want these series to continue. We don't want these series to end. And it's always nice. I like it with Age of Empires. It was the same with Command & Conquer, where we kind of went through Command & Conquer and it went downhill. As me and Daz were talking about it, it just went downhill and downhill and downhill as the series kind of declined and went into being awful. But then they had the remaster and we were like, yes, rejoice. The Command & Conquer remaster has been released and everything's great. And here we are. We're like, oh no, Age of Empires Online sounded awful. It looks awful. But then we have Age of Empires 4 on the horizon, and hopefully things will improve and we can get back to awesome Age of Empires games again. But in the meantime, we have the definitive version of Age of Empires 2, and honestly, if I'm going to pick a game, that's the one to play, guys.
Yep, I second that. Definitely Age of Empires 2.
Do you have anything else to say as we're closing on the Age of Empires episode? This has been fun. It's been nice talking about this.
It has, yeah. Little trip down memory lane. I don't actually have anything to add today.
No?
You got anything to add?
No, not at all. Other than go and buy Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings, get the definitive version, and have some fun. Add me on Steam. Come kick my ass in Age of Empires 2. I love it. I love it. It's been fun, man.
It has.
Have a safe trip up to Liverpool. And
thank you.
We'll be back in a fortnight. Don't know what the episode's going to be. I guess we'll... have you got any ideas yet? Or should we have a think?
I don't have any ideas yet, to be fair. We'll have to give it a bit of a think over.
We're going to have a think, and we'll be back with another episode in a fortnight. Until then, obviously, The Movies Made Us Do It is my weekly movie podcast, continuing on all the platforms where you can get Icons of Sin. And, of course, over at Chon Games on YouTube is where you will find Chris's gameplay channel. And I'll be, joining him for some more Minecraft. And maybe some other things. We need to look at these cross-platform games. Yeah, I know the new Modern Warfare is the new Call of Duty is cross-platform, so we could potentially have some fun there. Oh, it's free to play, isn't it? As well, so
yeah, we could add little duo Warzone squad.
Yeah, we can squad up. That'd be good. In any case, guys, thank you very much for listening. Go out and play Age of Empires, and stay safe. We'll catch you next time.
Cheers, guys. Bye.